At least two surface-to-surface missiles struck targets in Syria last night, a Syrian military post in another location, situated in the hills of Qisr al-Nafel, located west of the village of Hader in the northern countryside of Al-Quneitra Governorate, in relative close proximity to the 1974 ceasefire line, or UNDOF's Line Alpha. The missiles, which according to eyewitnesses originated from Israel, struck with pinpoint precision two observation posts, one of which intelligence sources had previously confirmed to TV7 is regularly utilized by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Quds Force and its proxy militias. Shortly after the strike, the Damascus regime naturally pointed a blaming finger toward Israel. However, the IDF spokesperson's unit did not confirm nor deny its alleged responsibility in response to TV7's request for comment. With that being said, it is worth remembering that Jerusalem had set a clear red line for Tehran in all that relates to Israel's northern theater, vowing to respond to relentless Iranian efforts to entrench militarily within roughly an 80-kilometer radius from the border with Israel, or efforts to arm its proxies in Syria and Lebanon with precision-guided munitions that would consequently threaten the IDF's qualitative edge. Meanwhile, a series of security meetings have taken place in Jerusalem regarding the maritime theater of operations in the context of Iranian attacks against Israeli-owned vessels. A prevailing military assessment highlights the need for military action to establish deterrence versus Iran, rather than relying on diplomatic efforts that have merely produced stern condemnations from the international community over the Islamic Republic's unrefuted responsibility for targeting the Israeli-managed Mercer Street tanker in a precision UAV strike that claimed the lives of two crew members, including a British and Romanian national. Nevertheless, the political leadership in Jerusalem is seemingly aligning itself with the Western position led by the United States. However, its move aims to convince its Western partners that the Ayatollah regime cannot be trusted and that the time to act against Iran's nuclear activities is now. Meanwhile, the Israeli Foreign Ministry responded to the IAEA report on Iran's production of uranium metal that was enriched to 20% purity, saying, quote, "Iran continues on its path to a nuclear weapon, even as the regime installs an extreme government that includes ministers that are themselves personally sanctioned for nuclear proliferation." Therefore, the statement continues, the international community must act now to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. The Israeli Foreign Ministry's Deputy Director General for Strategic Affairs echoed the Israeli concern regarding Iran's nuclear advancement, asserting that the Iranian weaponization program is pushing ahead rapidly. Therefore, the world cannot afford further Iranian stalling. The time for Iranian action is now. Subsequently, the International Atomic Energy Agency circulated an alarming report to its Board of Governors yesterday, in which it in effect acknowledged the need for urgency regarding Iran's nuclear activities, saying that the Islamic Republic has accelerated its enrichment of uranium to near weapons-grade material by activating a second cascade of advanced centrifuges to enrich uranium to up to 60% at its nuclear facility in Natanz. In response to the IAEA allegation, however, the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Saeed Khatibzadeh was quoted by the regime-run IRNI news agency as saying, "If the other parties return to their obligations under the nuclear accord and Washington fully and verifiably lifts its unilateral and illegal sanctions, all of Iran's justified countermeasures will be reversible." Until then, Khatibzadeh insisted that so long as the West refuses to concede to Iran's demands, Iran will pursue its peaceful nuclear program only on the basis of its sovereign needs and decisions and within the framework of its obligations under the Guarantees Agreement. In other yet related news, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, welcomed the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan, asserting that the end of any occupation is a humiliating dismissal. In a statement he published on his Twitter account in English, Persian, and Hebrew, Shamkhani further proclaimed, quote, "The fate that befell the United States in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq is also the inevitable fate of the occupying Zionist regime," in reference to Israel.